What's going on? I'm sitting here right now thinking about a story that I wanted to tell you all, and the story that came to mind was how my youngest son, Jared, was born. It all started with my son Jeremiah always praying every night about a younger brother. I'm talking about we prayed faithfully every night about him being blessed with a younger brother, and the Lord heard his prayers. All right, but let's move on to the story. Well, I came home from work one day, and when I tell y'all I'm tired, I'm talking about seriously tired. I guess I felt like I was hallucinating. I was so tired that day. I get home and I walk in the house, and my neighbor downstairs, that used to live downstairs, Brandy, her and my wife heard this technique about massaging a woman's pressure points on her feet, and this would cause a woman to lose her mucus plug and later go into labor. Well, guess what? These two were in here massaging feet. My wife had one of her feet and Brandon had the other foot, and they were going at it massaging her feet. Well, lo and behold, later that evening, going into Saturday morning, my wife lost her mucus plug. Okay, so this just brought on the Braxton Hicks contractions even more, right? So I'm asleep, that night, later on that night, which is that Saturday, going into Sunday, and man, my wife comes in there like, Kenny, you gotta wake up. I'm like, what's the problem? I'm knocked out, sleeping real good too. She wakes me up saying she's in labor, and I'm like, her and Brandon with these mucus plug pressure point techniques, and here it is. It's time. Now, the doctor had originally told my wife and I that Jared's expected due date was the 12th of December. This little guy wasn't gonna wait. He said the mucus plug is gone. It's go time. Let's do it. So my wife contractions, I guess, were about a couple of minutes apart, right? And with them being a couple of minutes apart, this let me know that I did not have much time to work with, because eventually things were gonna happen that I didn't know about that was gonna cause her to go into even more pain, and her contractions to be even more, closer. Okay, so my wife goes back in the bathroom saying that she can't move right now. She's hurting really bad, and I'm just like, oh Lord, what am I gonna do? And I hear this big whoosh, and I'm like, what was that? She's like, Kenny, my water just broke. Okay, so her water breaking lets me know, just like it let her know, that her contractions are no longer going to be a couple of minutes apart. We talking seconds, maybe 30 seconds to a minute apart now. Alright, so I'm moving fast as I can move, trying to make sure I got her some more clothes to get dressed, right? And I run downstairs to tell Brandy that I needed her to take my wife to the doctor, because I had to go pick my mother-in-law up from Frankfurt. Now, mind you, Frankfurt is 3 hours away. It's snowing cats and dogs out there, and I'm scared, like, what am I gonna do? I said, my mother-in-law is coming in from Macon, Georgia. I said, she's almost here, and I have to go pick her up, but my wife is in labor. This was a hard decision. Decisions I had to make that day were very crucial. So Brandy, she jumps in the car, gets the car warmed up and everything. She gets my wife to the hospital, and my wife calls me back on her way to the hospital to tell me that Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson were gonna go pick my mother-in-law up. So here I am trying to describe what my mother-in-law looks like, what she was gonna be wearing, and all of that to them. Well, a 3 hour trip turned into a 4.5 hour trip, y'all. I'm talking about one way. So with them going and coming, it took them about 8.5 hours, almost 9 hours to get back from Frankfurt and then back here to Unspot to the hospital. Well, my wife, she got to the hospital when I got there. I got there, and me being a music head, I brought her iPod. Man, I pulled that iPod out. My wife is in labor. That woman wanted to choke me. So I hurried up and grabbed the iPod, put the iPod back in the backpack, and I said, okay, she don't want the iPod because she's in pain. So I asked the nurse some ice, got her some ice, and they made her comfortable. And 12 and a half, 13 hours later, she's still in labor. And we're like, oh my goodness, it's almost 5 o'clock. And she's pushing and pushing and pushing. And finally, around 6 o'clock, the baby is starting to come. My mother-in-law walks in, my wife has the baby. It's like the baby was waiting on her to get there. So she had the baby. Jared's now one. My oldest son Jeremiah is loving being a big brother. I'm grateful to God that he has a little brother, and we're expecting another child here soon. Um, I hope you enjoyed my story, because it was short. It was kind of weird, but that was definitely a very, very touching moment in my life. Thank you very much for your time.